Today is Tuesday, July 1, 2014. It's the 182nd day of the year. There are 183 days remaining until the end of 2014. Sunrise today is at 5:10 a.m. The sun will set at 8:38 p.m. Length of daylight hours today is 15 hours, 27 minutes, 33 seconds. That's 41 seconds shorter than yesterday. Tomorrow will be 45 seconds shorter than today. The waxing crescent moon rises at 9:25 a.m. with 15% illumination and sets at 10:49 p.m. The moon passes above downtown Rutland City today at 251,933 miles distant from the center of planet Earth within the fifth zodiacal designation, Leo, the Lion. On this day in 1863, the American Civil War, the Battle of Gettysburg, begins. Gettysburg is a turning point in the war between the states. General George G. Meade eventually turns back General Robert E. Lee's drive north. Over 4 days, more than 46,000 Americans are killed in close combat, more than 27,000 wounded. On November 19, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln travels from Washington, D.C. to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to participate in the dedication of the Gettysburg National Cemetery. He delivers a few short remarks there, making an eloquent argument that the ultimate sacrifice made by those who died at Gettysburg be remembered. On this day in 1881, the world's first international telephone call is made, don't get excited, between St. Stephen, New Brunswick, Canada, and Calais, Maine, the United States. It's a distance of 9/10 of a mile. You can walk it in 18 minutes across the St. Lawrence River. If you had enough string and 2 cans, you could low-tech it, but come on, it's a good start. On this day in 1916, World War I, first day on the Somme, 19,000 soldiers of the British Army are killed and 40,000 wounded. The battle continues on until November 18, 1916. In the end, more than 1 million men are killed in the battle, and although the British and French are declared victorious, turning back troops of the German Empire, it comes at such a cost as to ultimately discredit the British commander, Field Marshal Douglas Haig, the first Earl Haig. By war's end, in November 1918, under Haig's command, Britain loses 2 million troops to the balls-out mass industrial tactics adopted to obtain victory. Born this day in 1892, James M. Cain, American author and journalist, is a writer of hard-boiled crime fiction. His first novel is The Postman Always Rings Twice in 1934, a bestseller made into 3 successful motion pictures. He writes Double Indemnity 2 years later and Mildred Pierce. Cain works for many years in Hollywood. He dies in 1977 at 85. Born this day in 1915, Willie Dixon, American singer-songwriter, musician, and producer. Willie Dixon is the consummate American bluesman, performer, recording artist, second only to Muddy Waters in creation of the Chicago blues style. He writes Little Red Rooster, Hoochie Coochie Man, and I Just Want to Make Love to You, among many others. Born in Vicksburg, Mississippi, he moves to Chicago in 1936. He boxes for a living, becoming a regional heavyweight Golden Gloves champion. Willie Dixon works for Chess Records from 1948 to the mid-1960s, during which time he writes, records, and produces hundreds of blues tunes for himself and artists such as Otis Rush, Buddy Guy, Little Walter, Coco Taylor. Willie Dixon dies of heart failure on January 9, 1992 in Burbank, California. Well, it's summertime, and that means books. It's a time for reading. If you're on summer vacation, you've got plenty of time on your hands, and you don't want to forget how. There are plenty of books out there to read, and some good ones too. Richard's Poor Almanack wants to do our part to keep the literary tradition alive. This summer we'll be reading one of the great books from 1957 when it was originally published under the title Roxanne, Industrial Nurse. The edition we found over on the Hannaford's Book Exchange table there, a 1963 paperback edition from Berkeley Books, sold back then for 40 cents. And to make the title more attractive to readers, they changed it to Roxanne, Company Nurse. You see what they did there? They took the word industrial out of the title, put company in there. Broadens the appeal. Roxanne, Company Nurse, Episode 1. Chapter 1. An ambulance horn honks twice. 2:30 by the white-faced clock high on the ward hall at St. Agatha's Hospital, standing on one of New York's cliff tops. Roxanne McCrae considers the breadth of sky visible through the great windows. Storm clouds bore darkly down on the shadowed earth. The world outside was depressing. Silly to be so sensitive, she told herself, and chalked it up to her Scottish parentage. All the McCraes were touched by faintness, according to grandmother, who had brought her up. Roxanne's eyes went back to the arm of her patient, lying on the bed, taped to a narrow board, and then up to the bottle, suspended like a birdcage overhead. The doctor had just left. Slowly, Drip by drip, blood was replacing the blood lost in an accident. In the bottle above, the reddish plasma was simply a fluid, but flowing into the human body through the arm vein, it was supplying fresh fuel to an engine that without it would most surely have stopped. Life flowing back where life had almost rushed away. Roxanne thought, how wonderful this miracle of blood plasma is. Francois Fenelon was born in 1651. He died in 1715. He was a French Roman Catholic archbishop, a theologian, poet. He wrote, "All wars are civil wars because all men are brothers. Each one owes infinitely more to the human race than to the particular country in which he was born." From Rutland, Vermont, this is Richard Alcott speaking.